परिव्रजाचार्य अष्टोत्तर सदस्य श्रीमद अभय चरणार विंद भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्री प्रभुपाद की जय। जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्रजाचार्य अष्टोत्तर सदस्य श्रीमद भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी महाराज श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। नामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की जय। ब्रजभूमि श्री वृंदावन धाम की जय। मायापुर श्री नवद्वीप धाम की जय। मथुरा धाम की जय। द्वारका धाम की जय। जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय। गंगा माई की जय। यमुना माई की जय। भक्ति देवी की जय। तुलसी महारानी की जय। समवेत गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। गौर भक्त प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories, all glories, all glories to Sri Guru and Shri Gauranga, Jai Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. Hari Om Tat Sat. So, Hare Krishna to all the devotees assembled here. Thank you for joining for ISKCON Seshadripuram's morning Srimad Bhagavatam class. So is the audio okay now?
Yes, Prabhuji, now it is okay, Prabhuji.
Okay, thank you. So thank you for joining today's morning Srimad Bhagavatam class of ISKCON Seshadripuram. Today I have been asked to discuss the fourth canto, 21st chapter. Fourth canto is named The Creation of the Fourth Order, and the chapter is named Instructions of Maharaja Prithu. In that, verse number 8 and 9 we have been asked to discuss. So I will share the screen for you. These are very straightforward ones. There's not much of a philosophy. So let's just try to understand them. Suta uvacha tadadi rajasya yasho vidrambitam gunair aseshair gunavat Sabhajitam Kshata Mahabhagavatah Sadaspate Kausharavim Praha Granantam Archayan. Word by word meaning. Suta Uvacha. Suta Goswami said that Adi Rajasya of the original king Yashaha reputation Vibramhitam highly qualified Gunaihi by qualities Aseshaihi, unlimited, Gunavat, fittingly, Sabhajitam, being praised, Kshata, Vidura, Mahabhagavatha, the great saintly devotee, Sadaha Pate, leader of the great sages, Kausharavim, onto Maitreya, Praha, said, Granantam, while talking, Archayan, offering all respectful obeisances. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Suta Goswami continued, O Saunaka, leader of the great sages, after hearing Maitreya speak about the various activities of King Prithu, the original king, who was fully qualified, glorified and widely praised all over the world, Vidura, the great devotee, very submissively worshipped Maitreya Rishi and asked him the following question. So there's no purport to this. So we will go to the next one. Vidura Uvacha. So abhikshtha prutuh viprair labdasesha surar hanaha vibarta sa Vaishnavam tejo bhavor Yabhyam Dudoha Gam. Word by word meaning. Viduraha Uvacha. Vidura said, Saha he King Prithu. Abhishiktaha, when enthroned. Prithuhu, King Prithu. Vipraihi, by the great sages and Brahmanas. Labda, achieved. Asesha, innumerable. Sura Arhanaha, presentations by the demigods. Bibrat, expanding. Saha, he. Vaishnavam, who has received through Lord Vishnu. Tejaha, strength. Bahvoho, arms. Yabhyam, by which. Dudoha, exploited. Gam, the earth. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Vidura said, "My dear Brahmana Maitreya, it is very enlightening to understand that King Prithu was enthroned by the great sages and Brahmanas. All the demigods presented him with innumerable gifts, and he also expanded his influence upon personally receiving strength from Lord Vishnu. Thus, he greatly developed the earth." Purport. Because Prithu Maharaja was an empowered incarnation of Lord Vishnu and was naturally a great Vaishnava devotee of the Lord, all the demigods were pleased with him and presented different gifts to help him in exercising his royal power. And the great sages and saintly persons also joined in his coronation. Thus, blessed by them, he ruled over the earth and exploited its resources for the greatest satisfaction of the people in general. This has already been explained in the previous chapters regarding the activities of King Prithu. As will be apparent from the next verse, every executive head of state should follow in the footsteps of Maharaja Prithu in ruling over his kingdom, regardless of whether the chief executive is a king or president, or whether the government is monarchical or democratic. This process is so perfect that if it is followed, everyone will become happy, and thus it will be very easy for all to execute devotional service to the supreme personality of Godhead. Om Ajnanatimmirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmanitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadanti Swa Padantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagra Jatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vranda Maneshwari Rishabhana Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhayevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nitinamine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarine Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasadi Gauravakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hari Om Tat Sat. So here, to give a high-level introduction for those who are just seeing this verse in future, who are just seeing the YouTube or something, to understand the context, it is important. So here, this is a discussion between Vidura Mahatma and Maitreya Muni, who is his spiritual master. And this conversation is being described by Suta Goswami to the assembled rishis in elsewhere, headed by Saunaka Rishi. So Saunaka Rishi and Suta Goswami are having a conversation. In that conversation, this conversation between Vidura, Mahatma and Maitreya is coming up. And of course, Suta Goswami heard this earlier from a conversation between Sukadeva Goswami and the son of the Pandavas, sons of Pandavas. Again, my problem with names, it just goes off. So this is the background. In this conversation, the Vidura Mahatma, he was actually part of the Kaurava, that dynasty. He was one of the uncles of the Kauravas and the Pandavas. So, and he, because these two Kauravas and Pandavas, they were fighting, and the Kauravas were fighting with unjust desires. to usurp the kingdom which is legally belonging to the Pandavas, and therefore these two clans were fighting. And Vidura tried to advise the Kauravas headed by Duryodhana, the eldest son, and including his father Dhritarashtra, that they are doing injustice to his brother's family, but they were not ready to listen because of their what do you call, the desire to lord over the land which is actually belonging to the younger brother and his family. So with this background, when he tried to advise, they disregarded it, they insulted him, and therefore he said, okay, it doesn't make sense to be part of this kind of a atrocity. We cannot take part in other activities. So knowingly, unknowingly, when we take part, we are also somehow getting the portion of those sins. So he decides to leave that kingdom. He was actually kind of an advisor, kind of a minister there. So he left all that and he went on a pilgrimage. And during the pilgrimage, he is coming across Maitreya Muni, and Maitreya Muni is giving him a lot of instruction. So he is actually talking about many pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in the process instructing him about what is the purpose of life, and the position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the position of the Jiva, and what is the purpose of life and what is that one should do, what are the various dharmas that one needs to protect. Like this, many wonderful instructions Maitreya Muni is giving him. And in that conversation, there is this pastime of Prithu Maharaj is being described by Maitreya Muni to Vidura Maharaj, Vidura Mahatma. So this Prithu Maharaj is one of the incarnations of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is basically indicated as a Shakti Aveshya avatar. That means the empowered personality, empowered incarnation. There are many different types of incarnation. The Lord's incarnation can be in many ways, and it is classified in different ways. Like for example, when the incarnation happens in a particular what do you call, just like the four yugas. So then it may be called as a yuga avatar sometimes. Sometimes when one of the quality of the Lord is incarnating, that could become a guna avatar. Like this, there are many incarnations. Many incarnation types of that. One of this incarnation type here is the Shakti Aveshya avatar, which is an empowerment given by the Lord to a particular say, I don't know if we can call them Jiva, but generally the Gunavatar is, the Shakti Aveshya is generally to a Jiva which is empowered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, like that. But I'm not very sure if Prithu Maharaj is actually a Jiva, but maybe he is a Jiva, but empowered, and becomes a Shakti Aveshya avatar. And he was churned out of the body of a king called Vena, who was a rascal element. And because he was not fit to govern, the Brahmanas actually with the mantras killed him. And as a result, there was no succession plan and there was nobody to rule that kingdom. And therefore, the Brahmanas, being the guide for the entire society, which follows the Varnashrama system, they are now responsible for ensuring that society works in order, and for that they needed to have a Kshatriya to rule the kingdom. The Brahmanas themselves are capable, but as per the Varnashrama system, their job, they don't want to do all these governing activities. So, but they have to guide the people of the earth in the proper way, and they guide through administration through the kings who are made the administrative heads, and the kings govern based on the advice given by the Brahmanas. And in the process, the advice is not simply to govern the land from a materialistic perspective, but also to ensure the entire population is elevated spiritually. So the Brahmanas have the knowledge of how to elevate every living entity to the higher platform and finally liberate them from the repeated birth, death, old age, and disease. So in that process, since they had this responsibility, they churned out from the body of the dead body of King Vena, and Prithu Maharaj comes. And of course, actually, this is in this case, it's not even I don't know if it is a jiva in that sense, because it comes from the dead body, from the arm, and even his wife actually comes from the dead body of Vena. So this is a empowered personality who he comes and then he establishes the kingdom of the father. So this is going on, and how Prithu Maharaj ruled over this entire universe was very elaborately discussed in the many chapters in the previous chapters. And here the first verse, what we talked about, the eighth one, where it has been mentioned. After hearing Maitreya speak about the various activities of King Prithu, the original king. So why it is mentioned the original king is because it is mentioned that there's always, right, and it's not like, it's like, if you look at the Christian era, we say BC and AD, before Christ and after death. So it doesn't mean that there was nothing before Christ or after things. Just that becomes a landmark. That becomes a very significant activity. Just like even in spiritual life, we say there is Acharya. So Ramanujacharya, let's say, he came 1,000 years back. But that doesn't mean Vaishnavism didn't exist before Ramanujacharya, right? So Vaishnavism was going on even before. Even, here this is talked about 5,000 years. Here Vidura Mahatma is there. Maitreya Muni is there. They are all coming in the guru-disciplic succession. Then why 1,000 years back only we talk about, Ramanujacharya, and then everything is starting from there. Or if we have to look at our own Sampradaya and within ISKCON, like Prabhupada came. And then we talk everything starting with relating to Prabhupada, right? So that means what? These are landmark personalities. They have created such amazing things, and that becomes a new standard in that particular line, whether it's kingdom or it is spirituality or whatever it is, or if it is sports, whatever it is. There are these very strong personalities. So Prithu Maharaj, from that personality, from that point of view, created. Before that, there was organized things, but when Prithu Maharaj came, he really defined the whole thing of how the kingdom has to be. In fact, it is mentioned also the city planning, right? This was not there before. Prithu Maharaj, when he came, he actually divided the earth so nicely into how the city planning has to be done. This is also mentioned there. Before that, it was not probably in such an organized way. So today we are talking about development of various cities, including, our own, the great spiritual city of Mayapur. I hear all the time my spiritual master, Solange Jayapataka Maharaj, having meetings on the city planning. There are some committees formed and they are all part of the thing, and they have many, many discussions of how to nicely organize the city, how the cities, the residents, where will they live, where will be the temples, where will be the animals, how to give protection to the animals, where will be the facilities for health care, where will be the facilities for trade, and how to enter the city, how to exit the city, how to make these things nice, how to organize the water channels, how to organize the the waste from the city to be taken out, and how to be managed, including ecology, so many things that needs to be planned. And while these are, even today, if you really see, we always end up with so many problems. Recently I was hearing that some people died because sewage water mixed with drinking water, and then there is a lot of chaos and people all uh, uh, raising their voices and creating unrest in the whatever, in the society against the government, and things like that are happening. But these are all actually part and parcel of the governance of the uh, country. And Prithu Maharaj was such an expert in that entire process. So that is why it has been mentioned the original king, who was fully qualified, glorified, and widely praised all over the world. So it is not simply in India, Bharatavarsha was Prithu Maharaj was ruling, but his governance was really appreciated all over the world. Vidura, the great devotee, very submissively worshipped Maitreya Rishi and asked him the following question. So here, Vidura Mahatma, as a great devotee of the Lord, is one of the very outstanding personalities. And he is actually, he says, submissively worshipped Maitreya Rishi. So Maitreya Rishi accepted him as a spiritual master, and in a very, very, how the relationship between the spiritual master and disciple, we can see from the interactions between Maitreya Muni and Vidura Mahatma. So you will see, when you have a nice disciple, the spiritual master is also very encouraged. So the spiritual master, when he is seeing a nice disciple doing wonderful things and acting very nicely and asking very nice questions, in fact, Maitreya Muni also says somewhere, actually, I am very pleased and I am very happy that you are asking these questions. So I am encouraged to answer these questions like that. So it is important that a disciple should be very careful how and sincere and serious about spiritual life, and he should be asking very relevant questions. Sometimes Prabhupada, people simply Prabhupada, or even I heard my spiritual master also, all the disciples, they have thousands of disciples, right? Prabhupada had, I think, more than 5,000 plus disciples. And if I am talking about my spiritual master, more than 1 lakh of disciples are there. So what happens is, so we are all supposed to ask questions to the spiritual master. Then I sometimes I've heard my spiritual master say, so these people are coming and asking me, in which college should I put my son? These kind of questions, which degree should my son pursue? Please tell me, Guru Maharaj. These are not questions for the spiritual master, right? These are material things. And by the way, what do you expect a saint to talk about a college, right? Of course, he may know, that's a different story. But you should go to the academicians to find out what is the best college, what will be a good course, what is the aptitude of the child in terms of his material desires, how he will, skills and things like that. And you have to decide based on those and not simply ask these kind of questions which are not relevant from a spiritual perspective. Of course, there are certain things, like for example, if you are looking for a direction, like, I'm a disciple and I wish to go to a foreign land, then I may discuss with my spiritual master how good it is for me from a spiritual perspective by going there, So what are the pros and cons of my either improving in my spiritual life or falling down from my current standard because the standards in that country or the association or the facilities for spiritual life is bad. These kind of things are different. But if you are simply looking at materialistic requirements and going and asking a spiritual master is something which is wasting everybody's time. So here, Maitreya Muni was always pleased with Vidura Mahatma's questions, and therefore it is mentioned here. Vidura, the great devotee, very submissively worshipped Maitreya Rishi and asked him the following question. So the next verse is where we will discuss a little bit more. The verse translation is like this. Vidura said, "My dear Brahmana Maitreya, it is very enlightening to understand that King Prithu was enthroned by the great sages and Brahmanas. All the demigods presented him with innumerable gifts, and he also expanded his influence upon personally receiving strength from Lord Vishnu. Thus, he greatly developed the earth." So this is Vidura Mahatma saying back to Maitreya Muni. So that means this was told by Maitreya Muni to Vidura Mahatma, and Vidura Mahatma is repeating what he said to validate. Sometimes when we discuss, right? So it's part of the communication process. So when you say something, I, as a receiver of the communication, many a times will say, so you are saying this, I need to ask that so that I want to get confirmation from you whether I have understood it correctly. So you are saying something and I am assuming something and I am acting. That is not good. So when you say something, I have understood it, but I should get it validated from you. Is this the correct understanding? Is this what you are saying? Right. Then you say, no, 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 that is not what I was saying. I actually meant this. Then I get it clear. Otherwise, this is actually part of the communication techniques. People say that when you say something, I sort of repeat that to get a validation of what you actually said. In at least the important point, so that it becomes that I did not get it. It should not happen like that. In fact, that's why even in these things, the Q&A are there. The idea is when a person speaks, then there's some question and answer session where the person to whom it is communicated is able to clarify his doubts. And many a times, if you see, devotees always start with saying, Prabhu, in your class, you said like this. So why, when you said like this, that is something, a statement made by the speaker, and I am either not able to understand it, or I want to have more clarity why he said like this. My understanding is like this, but you said like this. What is the why? How I should understand your point like this? These things are part of the communication strategy of, or in other words, the expertise in communication. Then there's a smooth flow between the communicator and the communicated. This is not simply here all over the world when people communicate. And here Bhagavatam gives good examples. So actually it is mentioned, Bhagavatam actually talks about everything. We can, oh, what is this? What are you talking? No, this is some mythology. But you see, here the communication technique is so very nice. Can we not take lessons from that? Prabhu, you're not talking Krishna consciousness, right? The people will immediately say, no, no, let's talk something about Krishna. This is Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada many times says, Krishna consciousness means it's not very narrow. It is a very broad subject. And we can actually understand. This is actually, I am right now glorifying Vidura Maharaj, Vidura Mahatma and Maitreya Muni about the finer qualities that they possess, about their communication skill. So it's not simply artificial, right? No, we should be able to appreciate and understand. Bhagavatam is very, very fine. It is a subject which one Prabhupada sometimes says, if you can understand one verse, for understanding one verse of Bhagavad Gita or Bhagavatam, it may take an year for you. Now, for example, these 2 lines what we discussed, and Prabhupada has written 5-6 lines of purport. Then we get, okay, this is okay, and there's nothing much. I also started off by saying not much philosophy. When I said, I think I should correct my statement when I'm saying not much philosophy. I was referring to any specific pastimes of the Lord, like that. But there is philosophy, right? There is the philosophy of communication, what we are right now discussing. Like this, there are so many things. If you go deeper into that particular verse, one can go on and go on and go on. In fact, I have read that Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, Srimad Bhagavatam, the first verse, very so bad. I was trying to quote the first verse, how it starts, but my memory just goes off. So there, on that particular verse, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati gave a class, like continuous class, like means every day on the same verse for a couple of months, just one verse, right? It's mind-boggling how there is so much to be understood from one particular verse, and it all depends on how much we are tuned into the subject matter of Srimad Bhagavatam. And as we keep diving deep, sometimes even within one word, we can find so much of treasure of meanings, particularly in Prabhupada's purports also. Prabhupada writes so much in one sentence, so much depth in one sentence. You can actually discuss on one sentence for like 1 hour, like this. Many times we have done that also, right? And we say sometimes we start off by thinking, oh, what class I will give. There's not much Prabhupada has written on this particular purport. But when you go little more, read it 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, suddenly you realize there's so many things that is there packed inside this, and I can actually talk for 2 hours. This kind of a thing happens. In fact, today also I was seeing what will I discuss in this verse, but already 8:41 was discussed for almost 35-40 minutes. I came 3-4 minutes late. But then that's the strength of Srimad Bhagavatam, that it is packed with so much of knowledge, so much of substance, and one can reform himself very nicely. And here, Prithu Maharaj, therefore, he was when he was enthroned, when he was made the king, all the demigods appeared there, and they presented him with innumerable gifts. And he also expanded his influence upon personally receiving strength from Lord Vishnu. So he is empowered that all the demigods, right from Indra to Lord, and even Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, they all came and they all gave him choicest of gifts. Like when we go for some marriage or for birthdays, we give gifts. But there, when such great personality gives, people also see what gift did so and so give. Because when the higher the person, the higher should be the way in which he thinks how it is, some gift is beneficial for the person. So Lord Vishnu gave wonderful gifts. Lord Brahma gave, Lord Shiva gave, Indra gave many wonderful gifts. So that is all being discussed here. And in the purport, Prabhupada is saying nicely here, right? So the Prithu Maharaj set the standards of how to govern the kingdom. And then it has also been Prabhupada's writing. Of course, the question what Vidura wanted to ask will come in the next verse, so we will not get into that. But Prabhupada is writing, regardless of whether a chief executive is a king or president, or whether the government is monarchical or democratic, this process is so perfect that if it is followed, everyone will become happy. And thus it will be very easy for all to execute devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now, this section is very important. So today we are talking about many different forms of government, communist form of government or democratic form of government. Some places have autocracy, or the kings, they call the king is there, Saudi Arabia, now they say king. Now the question is, whatever be the form of government, ideally it has to be the king. That means it's not like anybody, just simply some 15 people decide, I want you to be the king and therefore you are made the king. In terms of the majority or whatever it is, it's about the qualification, and that comes through the Varnashrama system. That means a Kshatriya, by nature, a person has the ability, the qualities to become a Kshatriya administrator. And from the so many administrative class of people, there is that what do you call that lineage of their training, of their study of how to really govern the political science. It is so deeply embedded for such people, and in the process they became kings, right? It's not necessarily always that it has to be in terms of the family. What do you call? Like the father son, not necessarily like that, but by nature it becomes, because that skill is imbibed into the next generation. That is natural. But that doesn't mean this Varnashrama system means that only a Brahmana son is always a Brahmana, a Kshatriya son is always a Kshatriya. Sometimes, or many a times, the nature of the soul comes in one family. Kshatriya family may not want to, will not have the mood of a administrator. He may be having the mood of a Vaishya, or he may be having the mood of a Brahmana, and he naturally takes to that path. In Vedic system, we have seen that. So it's not actually coming in terms of caste system, definitely, but it is coming more from the qualification point of view. And Kshatriya will rule very strictly according to the guidance given by the Brahmanas. So the last sentence, if you say no, and thus it will be very easy for all to execute devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is the ultimate goal. Why devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead is because the souls are simply transmigrating from one place to another. So today in animal body, tomorrow in human body, day after in a Devata's body, these things are going on. And therefore that soul becomes a praja in one kingdom. Therefore, it is not about simply living in one place and then being governed from a materialistic point of view to take care of the body. Today, if you see, we are only talking about that overall as a country or as a earth planet. People are only talking about the living standard of the people, the per capita income of the people. The very rarely they talk about the elevation of the soul within the body. But technically speaking, this struggle for existence is going on whether you are in a good country or in a bad country or in a medium country. Everywhere the struggle for existence is going on. It is not like in America or anywhere, any of the developed nation, there are no beggars or there are not people who are deprived of uh, uh, physical security or emotional security are there. If you see there are more people who are struggling with mental problems, with insecurity in different ways. So, therefore, problems are there everywhere. Absolutely, there is nothing where this is developed and therefore there is not much of a problem. This is all our concoction. Therefore, what is the need of the soul? If you really look at it, the need of the soul, the person within the body is to say, okay, body is there, therefore I need to live a peaceful life, which means the physical peace, security, the well-being of the body has to be maintained, which Prithu Maharaj did very nicely. He ensured all the desires of the people in his kingdom are all very nicely met. So when I say desire, of course, there will be desire for people to gamble. There will be desire for people to have illicit sex. There will be desire. This is there. One needs to understand the soul is coming from the spiritual world here with that desire. So in one sense, these desires, Krishna is giving the opportunity to fulfill these desires for the soul. So in one sense, they have to be satisfied, but one should also in the process, the system works like this. So I am hell-bent to go there and forget Krishna and go there. When I'm hell-bent to go there and when Krishna is giving permission, naturally he intends to make that person have that desire satisfied. Okay, you can't be here, you don't want to be there. I will make some facility, you go and do that there. That doesn't mean Krishna is approving that, but the natural sequence is, okay, you think you want to do that, I will provide you facility, go and do that there. And in the course of doing that there, you should realize that this is actually messy. I've taken a wrong decision and you need to come back. So that facility for that, if I may say so, the wrong desire to be also there in one sense. But at the same time, there should be transformation, reformation of the soul so that they understand that it is a wrong desire and come back. So that entire process has to be facilitated, and therefore the last word that soul has to transform. So every soul, wherever they are, in whatever state of consciousness they are, while it is a bad state of consciousness, which will also to be slightly provided for, but at the same time, the reformation process, the system to reform also has to be there. That is why this Varnashrama system, whether you are ignorant or you are passionate or you are, power hungry or you are very aloof, you are not thinking too much about the bodily existence. There are all these different kinds of people, and for all of them, in the natural way, the information, knowledge has to be given so that they elevate their consciousness slowly. From ignorance, you come to a little bit of a knowledge, but at the same time, the gratification process is more there. But you have knowledge, you have gratification things also. But as you are provided more and more knowledge and more better experience, slowly the gratification leaves and the knowledge is becoming more and more prominent. With the knowledge, then that soul tries to reform, and the contamination is slowly removed, and finally he becomes a Vaishnava. And Vaishnava means one who is basically worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead, understanding that Lord is the Supreme Personality and we are part and parcel but eternal servants of the Supreme Lord, and we are eternal and not having to jump from one body to another. And in that state, I will stop having a physical material body like this, but it will be a spiritual body, and that body is the actual liberation from this earth. So that process has to happen, but for that, the entire society has different types of Atma in different evolutionary process. Not the bodily evolution process, but the soul's evolutionary process. And this needs to be facilitated. And Vidura Mahatma actually, Prithu Maharaj was an expert in understanding this, and he very nicely gave all the facilities so that everybody was so happy. It is also mentioned during in this Prithu Maharaj's rule. It is mentioned, while even those people who have very low class desires, they were also fulfilled, but he also chastised when people did something wrong, and people didn't take it wrongly. They were happy to be chastised. So you see how it is. See, generally I want to do something negative, and if I'm allowed to do it, I'm happy. But the minute someone says, no, this is not right, you should not do, and all that, I immediately become angry. But here Prithu Maharaj was able to make these people understand that, yes, I will allow you to do some things which are not so perfect from a society perspective, from your own perspective, but at the same time, I will also ensure you are reformed. And people were accepting that, yes, he has a right to reform, and I'm happy to be reformed. This is not easy, right? If you are able to accept that person without qualifying him as, who are you to tell me? Prithu Maharaj commanded that respect from all the citizens. So they were ready. Sometimes you will find some jailers also, right? You are in prison, and you are supposed to be put under a lot of work. But some jailers, the prisoners will be happy to work with them. They know I am in this job, I am in this, I have to do this inside the prison. I am put in the prison house, and I am bound by whatever things, and the jailer will extract that work from me. I have to do, but they are happy to do, and they are happy to learn from them and reform themselves. That is the position what Prithu Maharaj was, that he was able to get the acceptance of all the prajas that he ruled. And in that way, the kingdom became very, very peaceful. Even Lord Rama Raj even said, that doesn't mean everybody were billionaires or something like that. It is not simply about possessions. It is about the state of your mind, how happy you are, and how positive you are, and how law-abiding you are. These are many different factors, rather than everybody saying, that everybody should have the same kind of wealth and things like that. That is not practically possible at all. But in your consciousness, are you rich or are you poor? That is the real matter. And Prabhupada wanted that, to be instilled across all the jivas in the human society. Therefore, there is peace. People are not simply envious, and people are not all the time fighting to grab others' wealth. You can see today it's happening, right? There's no, if you see all the various governments, they are simply talking about the bodily welfare of their so-called citizens. And to do that, whatever I need to do with other countries, I will do. Whether it is legal, it is illegal, I don't care. There is an international court of law. And of course, these things are not just for fun, right? International court of law means there's a lot of law books which governs how a country needs to deal with another country. But if you see many powerful countries, just ignore them. They don't say, let's see, I don't care what you talk there. That is all there, that's fine. But when it comes to me, I will do certain things, and how would you dare to raise a question on me? This kind of mindset. Then why we have an international law also, right? Be it trade, be it immigrations. There are so many things. There are so many clear guidance. Whatever clear means, nothing is perfect in this material world, but there is a rule, and one needs to, whatever position we are in, one needs to follow the rule of the whatever has been prescribed, agreed by all the people, so that there is peace and steadiness in the growth of that society. But unfortunately, today you see there is war everywhere. Why? People say, no, I am justified in doing my war. But is it according to the conventions of the United States and things like that? Many people say, no, this is not according to what has been agreed in this treaty. But who cares? I am powerful. It is there, I know. But when it comes to you, I will enforce that. But when it comes to me, I don't care. This kind of mindset is there. But this is not going to help the society. It is going to go deeper and deeper into more troubles, because this is Kali Yuga. But Prabhupada is saying, whichever type of thing is there, one should follow Srimad Bhagavatam examples. That means how the kings really ruled and how the people were actually peaceful. People also should understand, no, this is real peace. If they don't understand, then the kings also think, if you think this is peace and this is happiness, I will give you that. So if drinking and these are the things which is giving me happiness according to the citizens, the kings simply want to play to the galleries, possibly. This works both ways. So all these things are happening, but Srimad Bhagavatam gives answers to everything. And if only we have the little bit of a thing to reform, then the whole thing can be very peaceful. So I end here. If there are any questions, comments, welcome. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Danda Pranam Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Thanks for a very wonderful class, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, like normally a jiva, when he comes to the material world, like due to the revolt with Krishna, he has been put here.
Yes.
So, how does one jiva comes to Krishna consciousness? Is it due to his karmic reactions that are? Is it due to the mercy of Krishna as a Paramatma sitting that he gives the remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness, something like that? He reminds, because jiva, there are n number of jivas are there in this material world, but all of them cannot come to Krishna consciousness. How is that? Very few come and many not. So is it what is the matter? What is the in which way they come, Prabhuji? Is it only depends on mercy? Please let me know.
Very nice, good question, Prabhu. So as we said, we come here with our envy on Krishna. So I don't want to be with you, Krishna. Why you are the center of everything? I also have some intention where I need to be the center. That is the starting point, right? There's a little bit of a envy. And that envy, Krishna said, okay, then I will create a place where you can actually go there and you can think you are the creator, you are the doer. And in that process, you can feel that you are the center of all that activity. Right? We come here. So as you said, many people come at different stages of their whatever that envy, and their envy levels are different and all that. And once they come, then if you are in the spiritual world, you are not looking at everything in your perspective, everything is from Krishna's perspective. And therefore, there is nothing called karma. Because everything is for Krishna and you don't have anything for myself, right? Therefore, there is nothing called, I have done something for which I need to take responsibility. It is all for Krishna. But when it comes to material life, I want to think it is for me, and therefore, I do a certain set of activities and it has its impact on different other living entities, environment, and so on. And as a result, there is something called the cause and effect happens. I do this, I take responsibility for that. That principle Krishna has created. That is called karma. So now there is karma happening. Now your question was, do we come to Krishna consciousness because of our karma? Many people say that. I have also heard this thing in things. When we preach, they say, sir, my time will come. When my karma will happen, that time I will take to Krishna consciousness. This is all nice to hear, but I cannot take it up now. They say like this. So there's a little bit of a overlap in our mind. So this will come to me in course of time like that. But strictly speaking, karma is for the actions that we have done. Sometimes good action, sometimes bad action. And that action gives us material benefit. Okay. So technically speaking, karma can give you better or worse results in terms of material attainment achievements. So I have built a hospital. I have done some many charity of food and for old age. So many things, cows, so many things I do. If I am simply doing this as my responsibility towards the society, then that action is simply a punya karma, which means a pious activity. When I keep doing these pious activities, I keep getting pious results, pious results, pious results. So this is happening. But in the process, what is happening is my consciousness is slightly getting reformed from negative to positivity. So this is one small aspect which also elevates you to a spiritual platform. So they say, no, Sattva Guna is very closer to spiritual life. Tamo Guna, that means the mode of ignorance, is far from spiritual realization. So if you are in Sattva Guna, you will absorb more from Bhagavatam when we read. If you are in Tamo Guna, your absorption will be less. To that extent, that Guna is helping you to become closer to spiritual life. So this is in terms of my preparedness to get the mercy or get to Krishna consciousness. But just by this karma, we cannot go back to Godhead. We cannot become Krishna conscious. But it is the more karma, refined karma we do, we become more and more qualified to get to that Krishna consciousness. So let's put it that way. Now, then how do I get Krishna consciousness? So, when my consciousness is refining, as I keep saying, at some point in time when I am doing a Go Seva, for example, thinking that I am simply protecting the cow, in that process, I may get into a slight environment of some temple. Like Go and temple are always connected, right? Generally, in the olden times too. Even now, you will see there are some favorable people, devotees who you can see in the Goshala, wherever some cows are there. You will see. You go to Vrindavan, you find a lot of, you want to do Go Seva, you go there. You see a lot of cows. I mean, there are many ashrams for cows. But when you go there, you will find one fellow who's talking Hari Hari. He will say Radhe Radhe. What Radhe Radhe? I may think. Then that fellow will slightly induce something about why Go Seva. There is something, some element of Krishna consciousness is talked about to that person. So what I'm trying to say is, when we come in contact with devotees of the Lord, that is when our starting point happens. So something of that Krishna consciousness is planted in our head. For example, you go on a road, do Harinam Sankirtan. Why Prabhupada was doing Harinam Sankirtan on the road? You all are nice Kirtaniyas, nice devotees of the Lord. You want to glorify Krishna. Why don't you sit inside the temple and simply do Hare Krishna? Right? Enjoy nicely. Why you carry on the mridanga, hold it here and go all the way, many times barefoot on the road? It is very difficult. But I want to experience nice Krishna consciousness. Let's sit down in a nice acoustic room and hear nicely Krishna, so that Krishna's that sound comes from all over and hits into my ears and goes into my heart. I can simply be doing inside the room. But Prabhupada said, let's go out to the entire world. When you go out and talk about Krishna, somewhere, people knowingly, unknowingly hear about Krishna. And that plants that thought into that jiva. So that is how it starts. That jiva gets exposed to Krishna consciousness in some thousands and thousands of ways. Right? Even, when you do so as sometimes because of your Sattva Guna, you are doing ritualistic activities. This karma kanda, right? You are basically doing, Prabhu, I am doing this. I am now 60-year-old, 65-year-old. I want to do a Mrityunjaya Homa. Mrityunjaya Homa is to save your body. Why you do that? Yeah, it will help me improve my health and I will live for another 10 years. Okay, great. But when you do a Mrityunjay Homa, what happens? There are so many references to the demigods and also references to the Lord. In that process, slowly, this is planted in our head. The name of the Lord, the qualities of the Lord, or some aspect of Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is planted. Slowly, that induces us to think more into the spiritual sphere, into Krishna consciousness. That is how we come. And as we come, as we hear, as we do some small things, that is called Sukruti. That means when you do simply a dana to a cow, that is simply a materialistic activity of Punya Karma. But in the course, when you see that person where you go to the Goshala person says, Krishna loves cows so much. So if you actually help these cows, Krishna will become very happy. You do this as a service to Krishna when they say like this. Then you also think, okay, Krishna, I am doing this as a service to Krishna. And you do that dana to the cows with thinking it is a service to Krishna, then you are actually doing a Krishna conscious activity unknowingly. And that Sukruti is added to your account. So when the Sukruti builds up, it takes you away from the material. One is Punya, one is Papa. This is going like this. Sukruti is taking you like this. Spiritual world is here. So you are taking these 14 planetary systems one above the other. You do Punya, you go up. You do Papa, you come down like this, like this, like this. But Sukruti activity are actions which relate to Krishna and on behalf of Krishna. That actually takes you this way, away from this 14 planetary system to the spiritual world. So you actually slowly start gaining Sukruti, the spiritual strength. So they say, no, if Krishna says, no, Swalpamapyasya dharmasya trayate mahato bhaya. And Arjuna is also asking, supposing I am not able to do some devotional service because you are telling me to do, but I am not able to finish, what happens? Krishna says, don't worry, you will start from where you left. So you have to look at all the combination of these things. So I did up to some Sukruti, and 1% Sukruti I did, and then I died in this body, I left. But next life I come with that minimum. Already I got some Krishna consciousness in my head. And now when I come to the next body, I get some addition. I start off from some already having some, as though I have some knowledge. This people misinterpret as karma. This is not karma. This is Sukruti balance which I am having. Just like karma balance you are having. By the karma balance, you get better things. Punya is more, you will get punya karma, experience punya. Like this, when you already have some Sukruti, that will automatically put you in Krishna consciousness because you have already developed 1% Krishna consciousness in your previous life. This life, when I hear one kirtan somewhere, I immediately also join that kirtan and go and find out where the temple is. And what's it? Maybe I am not a very great devotee. But in my last Janma, I developed some liking for Hare Krishna. When someone sings Hare Krishna, I was clapping my hand. I was nice like that. Now I get an opportunity to hear more that nice Harinam Kirtan. So I automatically follow that and find out where the temple is. If I don't have that Sukruti, I will see why this headache, these fellows are simply shouting on the road, and I will go. But in my next Janma, because that Krishna has hit in my head, I got some Sukruti. Knowingly, unknowingly, I heard the Harinam Sankirtan. And therefore, next Janma, I may come to the temple. But this Janma, I may not. But another guy who's already in the previous Janma got some exposure. When they see Harinam party, they become happy. They follow, or they find out something, or they give some more. They say, these people are very nice. They are doing a wonderful. And he may clap and dance for some time along with that devotees, and he may go to his work. That activity adds more Sukruti to him. So this way we keep on developing. And when you come in contact with a powerful devotee, I may not have any qualification. I may not have done any Sukruti. But simply because I came in contact with a powerful devotee, he can empower us and make us a great devotee. So this is called Kripa Siddhi. So we develop our sadhana and we come to a higher level of devotion, become very good Krishna conscious person. But that is the normal way. But there is always in between, we get the mercy of a pure devotee, and this is called Kripa Siddhi. That fellow may be having all bad qualities. But somehow a pure devotee feels nice about him and he wants to help him. Overnight, that person can get so much of benefit. And this is called Kripa Siddhi. And we can see Narada Muni, when he was so beginning of the time, he just took that prasad from that devotees and they were very happy with him. They gave him the blessing. Then the next Janma, he became Narada Muni. Can you imagine, right? You take some, of course, these are powerful things. The dust from the lotus feet of the pure devotees, their charanamrit, that means the water washed from the lotus feet of their legs, the water which washed the legs of that of those pure devotees, that water is very powerful. And their prasadam. So whatever they ate, if there are some leftover in the plate, if they give permission and we take that food or prasadam which they took from their plate, that is very powerful. So these are all mercy component. So in these three different ways we can get the mercy. Does it make sense, Prabhu? Is it clear?
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Prabhu. Elaborate explanation, Prabhu. Thanks a lot. Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Dandapranam. Jai, Jai.
Thank
Jai.
you for the question. Hare Krishna. So we will end the session here. Thank you all very much. Granthara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.